Hey guys, welcome to another episode on Zoom Central. Today we are going to be tackling the topic about the differences between a dynamic microphone versus a condenser microphone. So first off, let me explain my setup right here. So what you see in front of you, this is a dynamic microphone. This is the Shure SM7B, which was popularized by Michael Jackson because he was using this mic to sing. This mic has been around for more than 40 years. The other mic in question is a condenser mic and is hidden just out of frame. I left a little bit of it so that you can see it. This is a Rode NTG5. So the Rode NTG5 is a shotgun condenser mic, and I'm going to be positioning it a little bit out of frame so that you can still see that it is there. It is covered by a furry wind mask so that it will mask away the air conditioner, which might be blowing some wind this direction, so it won't pick up any of the wind noises. All these signals are being fed into the Zoom F6 field recorder. The Zoom F6 is a very capable audio interface field recorder because it does record to the SD card, and it is a 32-bit floating point recorder. So with that aside, let me just jump right into the topic of the differences between a dynamic mic and a condenser mic. So first off, this dynamic mic here. Dynamic mic doesn't require phantom power, so you don't actually need an audio interface to supply phantom power to power the mics because there are no electronics inside that requires power. The other thing is that it captures near voices only, so you end up having to be quite close to this mic like how I'm positioning it. The other mic in question here is a condenser mic, and that is the Rode NTG5. The Rode NTG5 requires phantom power like most condenser microphones, and it is sensitive to a large extent, which is why I can position it quite far away from me. It doesn't have to be next to my mouth in order to capture my vocals. In fact, I'm going to be positioning it even a little bit further out of frame so that you can tell that the differences is not that stark even when you move the mic a little bit further away. Condenser mics are naturally sensitive and it picks up almost everything in the room, even if it is a slight distance away. Now I've explained 1, the condenser mic requires phantom power, and 2, it is more sensitive and it picks up more of the room. So next up, we'll be discussing what requiring phantom power means and what the sensitivity means between the condenser and the dynamic mics. So phantom power requirements will mean different things for the condenser mic, which requires phantom power, and the dynamic mic, which doesn't require phantom power. In the case of a dynamic mic, there are no electronics inside to power, and therefore you do not need phantom power. It is also quieter because there's less electrical hum to deal with. But all in all, because it doesn't have any electronics to power its output, it is also more gain hungry. Naturally, it's a little bit quieter, so you need to push your preamp or your recorder a little bit harder to get the same volume. I have matched the volume across these two mics so that they sound the same, but the gain on the Shure SM7B is actually a little bit higher than the gain required for the Rode NTG5. These are extreme examples because the Rode NTG5 is a pretty hot mic, it is very sensitive, and the Shure SM7B is a very, very gain-hungry mic which requires a preamp with at least a 60 dB or so of clean gain, without which you will probably need a cloud lifter or a fat head to provide that gain of about 25 decibels into your signal chain. And in the case of a condenser mic, it is not so rugged because of the fact that the phantom power is required to actually power the electronics within the condenser mic. It is also a little bit noisier because of the electronics, so you will get some electrical hum within your signal chain. Of course, there are different grades of condenser mics, so the really high-end ones, like for example the Neumann TLM102, which I have tested recently, it is very quiet a mic as well. And usually they are a lot more sensitive because they will pick up a lot of sounds from around the room. So the next thing we are going to be talking about is the sensitivity. Now, condenser mics are known to be more sensitive and dynamic mics are known to be less sensitive. So for now, we will switch back to the SM7B. So throughout the video, you will hear different mics and you will figure out for yourself how they sound like. And I am not going to be doing any audio processing except for maybe gain control. So no noise reduction, no EQ is going to be applied, no reverb, no echo cancellation, nothing of the sort. You're going to be hearing this as recorded by the Zoom F6 field recorder. So on to sensitivity. For dynamic mics, they capture near voices very well, but the moment you move a little bit further away, you're going to find that the sound drop-off is actually going to be quite severe. So as an example, I'm going to be moving quite far away from the dynamic mic. I'm speaking at about the same volume, but you will notice that the voice that you are capturing is completely different, and the drop-off in terms of volume is actually quite severe. But the dynamic mic, for that purpose, is great for capturing loud sound because the headroom is quite a bit higher, and for powerful vocals like a Celine Dion kind of vocals, then it is going to be able to capture all the details in the voice, which is that loud and that powerful, very, very well. And because of the fact that you do engage the proximity effect when you're speaking into a dynamic mic, you tend to sound a little bit less natural. So imagine if this was a human ear, and if you're going that close, I'm about 2 inches away from the tip of this mic. When you speak to someone into their ear at this distance, of course it's going to sound a little bit different as opposed to this condenser mic right here, which I'm quite a distance away. So it feels like a normal talking distance when you're talking to someone. You're not right up to their ear. This is a comfortable talking distance. This is about 1.5 feet away. And because the dynamic mics are less sensitive, they are also less prone to feedback. So in a live concert situation where you have loud drums and loud instruments and other singers around in the background, they tend not to pick those up, and you are only picking up the vocals. So when you have studio monitors attached and the sound is being played back via the studio monitor, it will not form a feedback loop, and you won't get the sudden ringing sound, which is what feedback is. So now we are switching to the condenser mic, the Rode NTG5. For condenser mics, they pick up a lot more subtle sounds, even from a distance away. So they're not great for noise cancelling. If somebody is speaking a distance away, it might still pick that up because condenser mics are a lot more sensitive than dynamic mics. They also pick up a wider frequency response range, which is not always true because there are so many different mics with so many different characteristics, and some of them apply slight EQ in certain frequency bands. So take it as a sort of a guide. In a like-for-like comparison, the condenser mic is probably likely to pick up a wider frequency response range. And as I explained earlier, the dynamic mic, it doesn't sound that natural because you're that close and you are engaging the proximity effect. The condenser mic in this particular case is going to sound a lot more natural, but because it's picking everything up, it is also more sensitive to feedback. So with these two main differences aside, I want to talk about the real-world applications between a condenser mic as well as a dynamic mic. So with these two differences, I would like to talk about the implications of using a dynamic mic and a condenser mic in the real world. Now, when you look at the Shure SM7B, let's switch over to the SM7B. Throughout this video, you would have noticed that the SM7B is actually right in my face because it only picks up sound from a small bubble in front of the mic. So I had to deal with the fact that the mic is right in my face. It is probably interfering with what you are seeing, and there's a boom arm that is required to actually mount this mic right up to my face to run the cables through. So in a way, the placement, it is kind of like rigid, so you do have to take that in mind versus a condenser mic which you can place anywhere else. And there is a noise cancelling effect because the air conditioner is running, because anything else could be running. Somebody could be talking in the background, but because it only captures what is in front, the sensitivity is limited in a certain way. You will find that it is by nature a noise cancelling mic. And when you use a dynamic mic properly, engaging the proximity effect, you will actually sound a lot richer, a lot fuller, and it sounds like a broadcast voice because a lot of radio stations actually use dynamic mics in their studios. And again, the beauty of a dynamic mic, because it is noise cancelling in a way, you actually don't need to treat your room that much, because by the time the voice bounces across to the wall and it comes back, it is actually not picking up those echoes already. So even if your walls are not fully treated and your room is not acoustically the most ideal, then a dynamic mic will actually help in that situation. So I would recommend that if you are setting up a studio at home, or where you're recording YouTube videos where your room is not perfectly treated, then go for a dynamic mic, which will probably help cut down quite a bit of the noise that is generated. A lot of the echo and the reverbs will be cancelled out. Then we will talk about the condenser mic. Now, a condenser mic, right, which is what I've just switched over to. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to be pushing this all the way out of sight, so you don't actually see anything, and I have free play of the space right in front of me. The condenser mic, the Rode NTG5, is actually picking everything up. In my normal videos, if I were using a shotgun condenser mic, I will actually push it out of frame so you can't even see it. And there's a lot of range of movement that's right in front of me. Once I remove the laptop and once I move the Zoom F6 out of view, it is basically a blank table, and I'm able to talk to you as though there's no mic in the whole picture. So that is the flexibility of mic placement when it comes to a condenser mic. But condenser mics are sensitive to vibrations, right? And especially the TLM102 from Neumann, which I tested. If you bump the table a bit, you are likely to pick that kind of stuff up. Try that. Okay, so that's what you're listening to. That's what's being picked up by the condenser mic, because it is so sensitive. But if you wanted to sound natural, if you wanted to sound like you're talking to someone, and your viewers are listening to you as though you are someone talking across the room, then the condenser mic is a great choice for making you sound natural. But the thing is that room treatment becomes then a necessity. Now, I have a blank wall here, but actually most of my room is pretty well padded. I have sound foams right around the wall. I have heavy curtains. I have 2 linings of heavy curtains. These are actually foam boards. These are sponge boards. And these are actually sponge lining that is lining across the wall. So I don't really have a lot of bare walls, all right? Of course, this is going to be picking up the reflection of my voice from the table, but at least this is a soft wooden table. So in short, because of the sensitivity of the shotgun condenser mic, you do need a certain degree of sound treatment. There are other techniques that you can use, which includes adjusting the sound to noise ratio, lowering the noise around the room, and setting the gain properly such that you get a proper level for your voice, and also trying to place the mic as close to the subject, as close to the voice source as possible. It will help increase the sound to the noise ratio. Alright, so I hope this quick episode, this short video has been helpful to you, and if you have found this useful, it would help me greatly if you could subscribe to this particular channel. The channel is very small. It is just starting out right now. I have a main channel, and if I can link, I will probably link it right up here, and you could check out that main channel where I talk about wireless audiophile products. Meanwhile, help me in growing this small little channel here, and if there's any question that you have, do feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I will help you as far as I can. I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing with you whatever I've learned in the short time that I've started my channel and started my YouTube career. And I'll see you in my next episode.